Marcus Chen had been keeping bees on the frontier colony of New Eden for 12 years, when the dragon fell from the sky. The massive creature crashed through the canopy of his apple orchard, crushing 3 trees and scaring his hives into a furious buzz that could be heard for miles. Most colonists would have run. Most would have called the Colonial Defense Force. Most would have grabbed the nearest plasma rifle and started shooting. But Marcus had spent too many years alone with his bees to react like most people. Instead, he grabbed his smoker, filled it with his special blend of dried lavender and oak chips, and walked toward the crater. The dragon was unlike anything from Earth's old fairy tales. This creature stretched nearly 40 meters from snout to tail, covered in scales that shifted color from deep purple to midnight black, depending on how the light hit them. 4 powerful legs ended in claws that had gouged deep furrows in the earth. But what caught Marcus's attention were the eyes, ancient, intelligent, and filled with a pain that had nothing to do with the crash landing. The dragon's massive head turned toward him as he approached. Marcus kept walking, his smoker trailing sweet-scented clouds. He had learned long ago that fear was a choice, and he chose not to be afraid. "Easy there," Marcus said, his voice calm and steady. "I'm not here to hurt you." The dragon's nostrils flared, testing his scent. When it spoke, its voice rumbled like distant thunder. "You are. Not like the others of your species." "I keep bees," Marcus replied, as if that explained everything. In his experience, it usually did. The dragon tried to rise but collapsed with a sound like a building falling down. Green blood seeped from a wound along its flank. Not from the crash, Marcus realized, but from something much older, something that had been festering for a long time. "You're dying," Marcus observed without judgment. "Yes," the dragon admitted. "I have been dying for what you would call centuries. The wound will not heal." Marcus set down his smoker and moved closer. The dragon could have incinerated him with a single breath, but it remained still as he examined the injury. The wound was clearly made by some kind of energy weapon, and it pulsed with an unnatural light that prevented healing. "This isn't a normal injury," Marcus said. "Someone did this to you on purpose." The dragon's laugh was bitter. "The Cosmic Council branded me as punishment. They said I was unfit to be a parent because I produced 4 daughters in succession instead of the required male heir." Marcus had heard of the Cosmic Council, an ancient alliance of alien species that governed much of the known galaxy. Humanity had been too new to space travel to join their ranks, which most humans considered a blessing after hearing stories about their rigid laws and harsh punishments. 4 daughters, Marcus repeated. "And they consider that a crime? In our species, only males can inherit territory and titles. Females are considered lesser. When my mate died giving birth to our 4th daughter, the council declared me a failure as a bloodline guardian. This wound ensures I can never breed again, and that I will suffer until death claims me." Marcus felt a familiar anger building in his chest. The same feeling he got when corporate inspectors tried to tell him his bees weren't productive enough, or when government officials suggested his small farm wasn't worth protecting from raiders. "Where are your daughters now?" he asked. "Hidden," the dragon said. "They think I am dead. I have made sure they believe this, so the council will not hunt them. They are safe, but they are alone." "How old are they?" "In your years? The eldest is perhaps 25, the youngest barely 15. Still children by our standards, but old enough to survive if they must." Marcus was quiet for a long moment, listening to the steady hum of his bees. They had settled down now, accepting the dragon's presence as part of their territory. In his experience, bees were excellent judges of character. "You know what I think?" Marcus finally said. "I think the Cosmic Council can go stuff themselves." The dragon's eyes widened. "You cannot speak such words. They rule over thousands of worlds." "They don't rule over this one," Marcus replied firmly. "New Eden is a human colony, and we don't recognize their authority. More importantly, they don't rule over me." He stood up and brushed dirt from his knees. "You're coming with me." "What?" "You heard me. You're coming with me. I've got a barn that's big enough for you, and I know a few things about healing. Plus, my bees seem to like you, and they're usually good judges." The dragon stared at him in amazement. "Human, you do not understand. I am an exile, a failure, a branded criminal in the eyes of the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. And I'm a beekeeper who lives alone on a frontier world because he got tired of people telling him how to live his life. Marcus shot back. Seems to me we have something in common. The Council will not ignore your interference. Let them come, Marcus said with a shrug. I've been dealing with pests my whole life. These ones just happen to be bigger and uglier than usual. The dragon tried to laugh, but it came out as a painful wheeze. You truly do not fear them? I fear them about as much as I fear a swarm of wasps. They can cause trouble, but they usually leave you alone if you don't go poking their nest. Problem is, they already poked yours. Marcus walked back to his house and returned with his medical kit and a cart powered by a small anti-gravity unit. Now, let's get you patched up. I've got some ideas about that wound, and I'm betting my daughters have even better ones. Your daughters? My bees, Marcus explained with a smile. I call them my daughters because they're the only family I've got. But the thing about bees is, they know how to heal. They know how to protect what's theirs. And most importantly, they know how to work together to take down threats that are bigger than they are. As he began cleaning the dragon's wound with supplies that smelled of honey and herbs, Marcus continued talking. See, the Council made one big mistake. They hurt someone who didn't deserve it. And they did it where I could see. Now they've gone and made it my problem. One human against the Cosmic Council, the dragon murmured. It is impossible. Maybe, Marcus agreed. But I've got advantages they don't know about. I've got bees. I've got stubbornness. And I've got the one thing that scares bullies more than anything else. What is that? Someone who refuses to be scared of them. Marcus applied a salve that immediately began to dull the wound's unnatural glow. Plus, I've got a feeling your daughters might want to have a say in all this once they find out their father's still alive. The dragon's eyes closed as the pain began to recede for the first time in decades. You would truly risk everything for a stranger? You're not a stranger, Marcus replied matter-of-factly. You're a father who got punished for loving his daughters. In my book, that makes you family. As the twin suns of New Eden began to set, Marcus continued his work while his bees hummed peacefully around them. Neither the beekeeper nor the dragon noticed the small surveillance probe that had been watching from the edge of the forest, recording everything before disappearing into the darkening sky. The Cosmic Council would know about their new problem soon enough. 3 weeks after the dragon's arrival, Marcus's quiet life had transformed into something resembling organized chaos. The creature, who had finally revealed his name as Kyrith, was healing faster than anyone had expected. The ancient wound that had plagued him for centuries was nearly closed, replaced by healthy scale growth that gleamed with natural iridescence. Your medicine is unlike anything I have encountered, Kyrith said, as Marcus changed his bandages. How did you know it would work? I didn't, Marcus admitted, cleaning the area with honey-infused antiseptic. But bees have been creating healing compounds for millions of years. Royal jelly, propolis, medicinal honey, they're natural healers. I just figured if it works for everything else, why not try it on a dragon wound? The Council's bioengineers would be fascinated by your crude methods succeeding where their advanced science failed. Sometimes crude works better than complicated, Marcus replied. Bees never overthink things. Their peaceful morning was interrupted by a sound that made both of them look up. The distinctive whine of plasma engines approaching fast. Marcus shaded his eyes and counted 5 ships dropping out of New Eden's pale blue sky. They weren't Colonial Defense Force vessels. Council enforcers, Kyrith said grimly, struggling to stand. They have found me. Stay down, Marcus ordered. You're not ready for a fight yet. Marcus, you must run. These are not mere bureaucrats. They are the Council's military arm. They will not hesitate to destroy this entire settlement to complete their mission. But Marcus was already walking toward his house, with the calm determination of a man who had spent years dealing with problems one step at a time. He returned moments later carrying what looked like an ordinary backpack, but Kyrith's enhanced senses detected the subtle hum of advanced technology. What is that device? Insurance policy, Marcus replied, shouldering the pack. The ships landed in his largest field, crushing his winter wheat crop under their landing struts. Marcus made a mental note to add that to the bill he was planning to send them. The lead ship's cargo ramp lowered with a hydraulic hiss, and 6 figures in powered armor emerged. They were Vorthak, a species known throughout the galaxy for their role as the Council's enforcers. 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and natural armor plating, they moved with the mechanical precision of soldiers who had never learned to question orders. Their leader, distinguished by red markings on his armor, spoke through an external speaker. Human designation Marcus Chen, you are harboring a condemned exile. Surrender the criminal Kyrith immediately, and your settlement will be spared. Marcus walked out to meet them, his bee smoker in one hand, and his PAX control unit in the other. Good morning, gentlemen. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding. Our sensors have confirmed the presence of the exile. You will comply. See, that's where you're wrong, Marcus said conversationally. You're on human territory now. New Eden Colony operates under Earth Confederation law, and we don't recognize Council authority. So I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The enforcer's laugh was harsh and mechanical. 1 human against 6 Vorthak warriors. Your bravado is admirable but pointless. Oh, I'm not planning to fight you myself, Marcus said. That would be unfair. He pressed a button on his control unit. The backpack opened with a soft whisper, and something small and dark emerged. Then another. Then thousands more. The enforcers stepped back in confusion as Marcus's bees poured out of the pack. But these weren't ordinary bees. These were his children, modified and enhanced through decades of careful breeding and genetic tweaking. Each one was the size of a hummingbird, with metallic exoskeletons that gleamed like tiny weapons. Meet my daughters, Marcus said proudly. I've been working on them for years. Honeybees crossed with nanomech technology, enhanced for intelligence and defensive capabilities. They're still bees at heart, though. They protect their family and their territory. The swarm rose around him like a living storm cloud, their wings creating a sound like distant thunder. The enforcer leader raised his plasma rifle, but Marcus held up a warning hand. I wouldn't recommend that. See, these girls have been programmed with some very specific instructions. They're designed to recognize powered armor as a threat to their hive, and they've got some interesting defensive mechanisms. To demonstrate, Marcus nodded toward one of the soldiers. A small group of bees broke off from the main swarm and circled the Vorthak. Wherever they touched his armor, the metal began to dissolve. Molecular acid, Marcus explained cheerfully. Completely harmless to organic tissue, but it eats through most metals and composites in about 30 seconds. They can also generate localized electromagnetic pulses to disable electronics, and they're fast enough to dodge plasma bolts. The enforcer leader tried to maintain authority despite watching his soldiers' armor being systematically dismantled by what looked like oversized insects. This is an illegal use of bioweapons against Council forces. These aren't bioweapons, Marcus corrected. They're livestock. Specifically, they're bees. Very well trained, genetically enhanced bees. But still just bees. Earth Confederation law is very clear about a citizen's right to protect his livestock. Behind them, Kyrith watched in amazement as the humans' impossible creatures rendered 6 of the galaxy's most feared warriors completely helpless. The bees were incredibly precise. They destroyed the armor and weapons without harming the soldiers inside, leaving 6 very large, very embarrassed aliens standing in Marcus's field wearing nothing but their underwear. Now then, Marcus continued. You were saying something about surrendering, my friend. The lead enforcer's natural armor provided some protection, but even he was backing away from the swarm. The Council will not tolerate this insult. More ships will come. Larger forces. And they'll be met by more bees, Marcus replied. See, the thing about bees is that they're incredibly good at communication. My daughters have already sent word to every hive on New Eden. That's about 40,000 colonies, each with roughly 1 million enhanced bees. We take protecting our family very seriously. As if summoned by his words, the sky began to darken as distant swarms approached from every direction. The sound grew from a whisper to a roar that shook the ground. The enforcer leader made a quick calculation and decided that discretion was the better part of valor. This matter is not concluded, human. Oh, I'm counting on that, Marcus said, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Because you made one very big mistake when you came here. What mistake? You threatened my family in front of my daughters. Marcus gestured to the approaching swarms. And you know what bees do to anything that threatens their family? The enforcers retreated to their ships without another word, leaving behind their destroyed equipment and what remained of their dignity. As the vessels lifted off and disappeared into the afternoon sky, Marcus's enhanced bees began collecting the scattered pieces of armor and weapons. Waste not, want not, Marcus explained to Kyrith. My girls are excellent recyclers. Marcus, Kyrith said slowly. What were you before you became a beekeeper? Marcus was quiet for a moment, watching his bees work. Military bioengineer for the Earth Defense Corps, specialized in creating enhanced organisms for frontier protection. I got tired of making weapons for politicians, so I retired out here to raise bees and grow apples. And the Council has no record of this? Humans are new to galactic politics. Our military records aren't in their databases yet. Marcus grinned. That's about to change, though. They'll do their research now. They will return with larger forces, probably. But they'll also discover that New Eden isn't just a farming colony. It's where Earth sends its retired military specialists, people like me who wanted quiet lives but might be useful if trouble came calling. We've got former admirals growing corn, ex-special forces raising cattle, and retired weapons designers making furniture. Kyreth's eyes widened as he understood the implications. This entire world is a hidden military base. Not hidden, Marcus corrected. Just quiet. We never advertised what we were because we hoped we'd never need to be anything more than farmers and craftspeople. But the Council just poked the wrong hive. That evening, as Marcus tended to his regular bees and checked on Kyreth's healing wound, he activated his old military communicator for the first time in 12 years. This is Chen calling all retired personnel, he said into the device. We've got visitors who don't understand the word no. Time to explain it to them. Across New Eden, similar devices activated as men and women who had hoped never to fight again began preparing for war. But this wouldn't be the kind of war the Council expected. This would be a war fought by farmers and crafters and Beekeeper who had learned that sometimes the most dangerous enemies were the ones who looked harmless. And somewhere in the depths of space, Kyreth's 4 daughters received a message they had never expected. Their father was alive, and he had found someone willing to fight the entire Cosmic Council to protect him. The Council's response came exactly 1 week later. Not with ships, but with a transmission broadcast across every communication network in the sector. Marcus watched it on his old view screen while sharing breakfast with Kyreth, who was now fully healed and mobile. Citizens of the galaxy, announced a pompous-looking alien with too many eyes and an ornate headdress. The Cosmic Council has been gravely insulted by the primitive world, designated as New Eden. These humans have harbored a condemned exile and attacked lawful council enforcers with illegal bioweapons. Marcus snorted. Still calling my bees bioweapons. They really don't get it. The transmission continued. As punishment for this transgression, New Eden will be blockaded until the criminal Kyreth is surrendered. Any ship attempting to reach or leave the system will be destroyed. The humans have 48 hours to comply. A blockade, Kyreth said grimly. They will starve your world into submission. Will they now? Marcus replied, sounding more amused than concerned. He activated his communicator. Sarah? You getting this? Oh, we're getting it, came the crisp reply from Admiral Sarah Martinez, former head of the Earth Defense Corps' 4th Fleet and current operator of New Eden's largest vegetable farm, already mobilizing. Give me 12 hours. For what? To show these council idiots what happens when you threaten human civilians. Marcus grinned and turned to Kyreth. Want to see something the council's never encountered before? 12 hours later, ships began emerging from hyperspace around New Eden. Not military vessels, but something far more dangerous. Human merchant ships, hundreds of them, arriving from every corner of human space. Freighters, passenger liners, private yachts, mining vessels, exploration ships. each one flying Earth Confederation colors and carrying something very special. The Council blockade fleet, numbering 30 massive warships, found themselves suddenly outnumbered 10-1 by ships that supposedly posed no threat. Their commander, a dignified Zephyrian named Admiral Vextar, opened communications. "Human vessels, you are violating a lawful blockade. Withdraw immediately or face destruction." The response came from every human ship simultaneously, broadcast on all frequencies. "Nuts." Admiral Vextar blinked his 4 eyes in confusion. "Clarify your response." "It means no," came the voice of Captain Rebecca Torres from the merchant vessel, Happy Wanderer. "It means we reject your authority. It means you can take your blockade and stuff it where your species doesn't have scales. You are civilian vessels. We will destroy you." "You can try," Torres replied cheerfully. "But you might want to scan us first." The Council ship's sensors revealed something that should have been impossible. Every human merchant vessel was carrying enhanced biological cargo. Bees. Billions upon billions of Marcus's enhanced daughters, distributed across human space over the past 12 years through seemingly innocent agricultural exchanges. 12 years ago, Marcus explained over the open channel, I started sharing my breeding program with other human colonies. Called it the Pollinator Project. Told everyone we were just trying to improve agricultural yields. Nobody bothered to mention that these particular bees had some interesting defensive capabilities. Admiral Vextar felt a chill of understanding. "You have weaponized your entire civilian fleet." "We've protected our families," corrected Admiral Martinez from the flagship Corn Maiden, a converted grain hauler that was definitely not displaying any weapon signatures. "These ships are still civilian vessels carrying agricultural supplies. The fact that our agricultural supplies happen to eat through Council armor is just a happy coincidence. This is a violation of galactic warfare conventions." "What warfare?" asked Captain Torres innocently. "We're just farmers and merchants going about our business. If you want to start a fight with civilian vessels, that's on you." From his farm, Marcus watched the standoff with satisfaction, while his original hives hummed peacefully around him. Kyrith stood beside him, still amazed by what the humble beekeeper had accomplished. "Your species is terrifying," Kyrith observed. "We're protective," Marcus corrected. "There's a difference." The stalemate was broken by the arrival of 4 more ships. But these weren't human. They emerged from hyperspace in formation, their scales gleaming like stars against the darkness. They were dragons, and they were magnificent. "Father," came a voice that made Kyrith's eyes fill with tears. "We received your message." "Vyra, my eldest daughter?" "All 4 of us," replied another voice. "Nissa, Kira, and Zara are here too. We've come to take you home." The Council fleet commander tried to intercept the dragon ships. "Unidentified vessels. You are entering a restricted zone." "This is Princess Vyra of the Draconic Sovereignty," came the cold reply. "You are holding my father hostage. Withdraw, or face the consequences." Admiral Vextar's worst fears were realized. The Draconic Sovereignty was one of the few powers in the galaxy that the Council treated as equals. They stayed out of each other's territories and avoided direct confrontation. But if the Council had unknowingly been persecuting a member of Dragon Royalty, Sovereignty Command, there has been a misunderstanding. The exile. Kyrith was condemned by proper Council procedure for having daughters instead of sons. Vyra's voice cut through the transmission like a blade. "Yes. We know about your primitive gender discrimination laws. We also know that dragon nobility has been exempt from Council authority since the Treaty of Altair. The exile was not identified as nobility. Because you didn't ask." Nissa's voice joined her sister's. "Father hid his identity to protect us after Mother's death. But we are Princess Vyra, Princess Nissa, Princess Kira, and Princess Zara, daughters of Duke Kyrith of the Seventh Rim. Our grandfather is King Thalarion, current ruler of the Sovereignty." Marcus whistled appreciatively. "Kyrith, you didn't mention you were royalty." "It seemed unimportant," Kyrith replied, embarrassed. "I was just a father who wanted his daughters to be safe. And I'm just a beekeeper who wanted his friend to be happy," Marcus shot back. "Funny how things work out." The situation was spiraling beyond Admiral Vextar's control. He now faced a human fleet of questionable civilian status, 4 dragon princesses demanding the return of their father, and a growing suspicion that he had just created the biggest diplomatic incident in Council history. His communications officer made things worse by announcing, "Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. The human merchant networks are spreading word about the blockade. Multiple species are expressing concern about Council authority being used against civilians." "How many species?" "How many species?" 17 so far, sir. The Centauri Trade Alliance, the Andromedan Collective, 3 independent sectors. "Admiral, they're threatening trade sanctions." Marcus's voice came over the channel one more time, calm and friendly as always. "Admiral Vextar, isn't it? I've got a proposal for you. Speak. You withdraw your fleet, and forget this whole thing happened. In return, I won't file a formal complaint with the Galactic Trade Commission about Council forces attacking civilian agricultural shipments. Princess Vyra takes her father home, my bees go back to making honey, and everybody saves face. And if we refuse, well," Marcus said thoughtfully, "I suppose we'll find out what happens when 1 billion enhanced bees decide they don't like your ships. Plus, I'm pretty sure 4 dragon princesses could make your day very interesting. And there's always the possibility that 17 different species might decide they don't need to trade with Council worlds anymore." There was a long silence while Admiral Vextar considered his options. Finally, his voice came through the speakers. "Council fleet withdrawing. This matter is concluded. Of this matter is now Targ Council fleet withdrawing. Council fleet withdrawing. Of the Sizot." As the massive warships began disappearing into hyperspace, the human merchant fleet burst into celebration. Captain Torres's voice carried over the cheers. "That's how you protect the family." An hour later, Kareth stood in Marcus's apple orchard, fully healed and surrounded by his 4 daughters. They were magnificent beings, each one unique but clearly related. Vyra, with her golden scales, Nissa gleaming silver, Kira, deep emerald, and young Zara, bright as copper. "I cannot thank you enough," Kareth said to Marcus. "You risked everything for a stranger." "You're not a stranger," Marcus replied, checking on his hives one last time. "You're family. And family looks out for each other." "Will you come with us?" asked Zara, the youngest. "Father has told us so much about you and your bees. The sovereignty would welcome you." Marcus smiled but shook his head. "I appreciate the offer. But this is my home. These are my daughters." He gestured to his buzzing hives. "And they need their keeper." "We understand," Vyra said with a bow. "But know that you will always have friends among the dragons. And if you ever need help, I'll call," Marcus promised. "But I'm pretty sure my girls and I can handle whatever comes our way." As the dragon family prepared to leave, Kareth pulled Marcus aside one last time. "What you did here will be remembered," the dragon said seriously. "Not just by my family, but by everyone who heard what happened. You showed the galaxy that sometimes the most important battles are fought by ordinary people, protecting what they love." "I'm just a beekeeper," Marcus replied with a shrug. "No," Kareth said with a smile. "You're the beekeeper who told the Cosmic Council to go stuff themselves. That's going to be a very different thing." As the dragon ships lifted off and disappeared into hyperspace, Marcus returned to his daily routine, checking hives, tending apple trees, and enjoying the peaceful hum of his enhanced daughters. But across the galaxy, the story was already spreading. The story of a simple farmer who faced down an empire to protect his friend. And in the deepest archives of the Cosmic Council, a new entry was made in their threat assessment files. Humans. Approach with extreme caution. Especially beekeepers. Marcus would have found that entry very amusing, but he never learned about it. Because he was too busy living his quiet life on New Eden, surrounded by his bees and his apple trees, secure in the knowledge that family, whether born, made, or enhanced, was always worth fighting for. The galaxy had learned something important that day. Sometimes the most dangerous enemies were the ones who looked like harmless farmers. And sometimes the greatest heroes were the ones who never considered themselves heroes at all.